Okay. Does somebody want to explain the case study?
I can give it a shot again. So, I'm trying to remember everything that happened in it. But I think the biggest thing, so Noodles and Company, so we have, so Aaron, Aaron Kennedy, the founder, let's see. So,
You guys' sound keeps going in and out, so
oh, really?
I'm not sure what you're saying.
Okay.
Sorry about that. We'll try and speak up and
Someone else might do it.
Yeah.
I can try to give it a shot.
sorry about that, man.
So basically, Aaron Kennedy wanted to start up this company. So he did, and it struggled for a little while in the first couple months. Like first, what was it, for 4 months or 5 months or something. Then he opened up another company 1,000 miles away in Wisconsin. And they still had struggles. They were losing money. Like the group of executives, I don't remember all the names, but we went to Chicago and went to a bunch of similar style restaurants, and then they kind of came back and gathered, kind of discussed what they needed to do to make a successful company, how they needed to divide into theirs. So after a day of meeting, they discussed what they needed to do, set some goals, and went to work. And I think a couple months later, they opened up the third store, and then they just kept growing, and they had some huge goals to accomplish, and finances, dropping people on board. And after like 5 years, to set some more goals. Faced with the struggle of how to keep the growth, whether they're going to keep it internal or try to like franchise it, or go with other joint venture groups, or something. That's kind of what they're faced with. And being able to keep their, something that stuck out to me was like culture. They wanted to keep the culture as they kept going. So that's kind of where they were stuck with, is how do we continue to meet our growth standards, but keep our internal standards, continue to grow, how to grow. That sums it up.
Pretty sure that was great. I just, the sound thing is not working.
Is it weird?
Yeah, I don't know. And it's not like complete silence. It's like you're talking and then you're like mumbling, and then you're talking and then you're mumbling. But I don't know. It'll be fine. Well, let's just open it up for discussion. Does anybody have anything they want to bring up?
Yeah, like it's interesting because in this class, reading this, we read this case, and in another class I had, we read a case that was almost this, and it was called Mod Pizza. Have you guys ever heard of Mod Pizza? Where very similar, they started out like very small, and they had like this very unique culture, but really considered a franchising considered like going all of this, you know, and but it's just but the fast casual niche, I thought that was a pretty cool thing of how that was something they found that was very relatively new for these kinds of stores, because there was like fast food, McDonald's, which is like super quick, kind of in and out, you know, or more of like a sit down, you know, restaurant. There wasn't anything like, I guess there wasn't as much that was in. So I thought that was pretty cool. So they found a good niche to get out in the market. So they're like almost like creating more market. But that was something I found was.
It was very fun to read this tunnel. When I was reading it, I was looking for things that were wrong, and so there's not a lot of things like that. But I guess one thing that really impressed me about this company is their willingness to cut the hard issues. You know, it took a little bit of time. I mean, like they're struggling really a lot at the beginning, trying to get the vaccine and money. I think it felt like it was there. And then when everything failed, they finally turned to other people to see how they're doing it. They're willing to look it out, willing to figure out how they can do better, and then they got back to that. That's when all of those spike in the growth. The attitude is really, I guess, that's so far. Willingness to look to others or look to other things and look outside the box. Now, if they would have done that sooner, I feel like they probably could have. But they are as
You guys feel like they were, especially like still all over the place? The direction of the company.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it was kind of scrambled at the beginning, and then later on they found clarity in what they were doing?
Yeah. I think it was like that first few months before they kind of went to kind of figure out what they were doing wrong. They didn't really have like a set kind of standards they wanted to do. Like they had their culture that they wanted. They didn't know how to like apply it into their stores. So once they kind of got that figured out, and you saw the immediate turnaround, it was only like after that. And then obviously they with money to good investors and continue to do that they were.
the second company, the second store they opened up like right before it, like the guy who had no idea. The first people, I think like he jumped on that really quick. Nobody's gonna help us. Do this really quick. And I remember that was very true. That very good move on
Yeah.
on Timothy's part. It's great because, like, for me personally, I probably would have been very upfront, like, dude, this other store is failing right now. We need help. But he wasn't. He was very. He took the that opportunity and he made it into something that did better in the long run. And so I thought that was really cool. Move. Sorry, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they. Can you hear us, Krista?
Yeah, if I mute myself, I think I can hear you better. So you guys just keep talking. I'll
Yeah, we
stop
can.
you when
I
it gets
think
back.
it cleared up a lot because I could hear
good.
like a bunch of stuff in the background.
Kind of like water.
That's yeah.
Do you hear the static?
Yeah, I can hear the static. It's driving me nuts a little bit. But I think it's
Okay.
fine. I think it's getting better.
It could be my computer, Krista, so I'm not sure. It's old.
No worries.
I need a new one. Yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting that they just was going wrong in the beginning and they still came out on top. Because one thing, he took huge risks because he like put out, what did he take another like mortgage on his house and like maxed out like multiple credit cards. And I'd be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, from a finance point of view, I'm like, dude, this is gonna be a nightmare. Because maxing out your credit card and stuff, like those things are like 18 to 30% interest rates, you know, and to me that was something that was, I don't think he had that planned out very well in the beginning. Like he had this idea, but I don't think he planned quite enough like they should have.
It kind of seemed like he wanted to just hit the ground running, and then everything else was just going to kind of follow.
Yeah.
And he
Get it in place.
Which he did, and then he fell over and got back up. But you know, but he, I mean, unaware, like in the page 4 of the case, it says like unaware at the time that the first restaurant was doing so poorly. He just had no idea, you know. So one, like, obviously he missed the financial part of the business because the business was doing making a profit at all. But that was just something that me personally, I'm just like, whoa.
But I think also what helped him, kind of what, like, on the opposite of what you're saying, or was, well, it says right here, it says you should never test market a product in only one place if you can afford not to. That's kind of what, like, with that second store, he's kind of like, oh, if we can get into another area, like, it might not be working here, but it could work somewhere else and work in other places. It might just be the area that, you know, that was kind of, that stuck out to me a lot too. It's just like to test everywhere, and if he was getting the money to do it, then, you know, that was the best way to do it. And I think that's part of the reason why he accepted that investor.
Yeah,
I think that was a really good move on his part. Like, I wasn't trying to diminish that move. I just thought it was pretty shrewd. I don't know if that's the right word. That could be more harsh of a term than I'm meaning.
Alan said he took a huge risk to do that.
Yeah. And so, but it paid off.
I mean, it did.
They were able to see this, how it worked, and realize that whatever they were doing at that time wasn't working. So they went to the next one, which was visiting other shops that were in their same or around their same market, doing the same thing, and then looking at their doing and what they were doing right.
So the case study is a lot of like their startup and where they came from. But at the time of this case study, they're pretty well established. What is actually like the problem that we should be analyzing right now?
I feel like the overall problem of the case is, right, you guys might have a different one, but he's wanting to many different stores, but yet he doesn't know how to do that by, as you know, as well as maintaining his culture. That was just mine, but is that there's a different one?
No, I mean,
trying to grow more, franchise more.
Yeah, grow more, but maintaining culture.
I think that's just like the proper growth. Because like he was saying at the end, is like we could try to keep it all privately owned and not franchised, but that takes a lot of capital to do that. Franchise, not spend as much money, but then we might not have as much control over our culture. So, I mean, I think that's key, is that culture and growth.
I think another one, I don't know if they're in public or they are public, but I think another option is going public.
Yeah, it was an option they had.
And I'm a little bit, I guess, not in the know on that whole process, because I felt like once you start selling shares, you're no longer public or private, because they were selling shares in their company.
So it's just once you become like you're on a public exchange.
Okay, so people can buy.
So like the New York Stock Exchange, like that is a public.
Okay, so that's what
it's like a different way of receiving funding.
Yeah.
By selling shares in your company, and like obviously the better you do, the more money you make.
But that one's no longer really controlled by them; it's controlled by that market, so people can buy and sell without really them giving their approval or not. Okay, so that's what it means. Because I was kind of confused. Like, but thanks for clearing that up. One of the things I felt like was an issue is that he didn't prepare as much as he probably should have.
Yeah.
I feel like he had a great idea, and he talked to some people about it, but he wanted to keep it to himself, maybe because he didn't want other people to get the great idea as well, and so that prevented him from doing some needed research, kind of like what the research that they ended up doing after the second store failed. I thought should have been done at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like he should have gone, because he was at that one noodle shop and he's like, oh, this is a really great idea. I want to bring this to the rest of the world. But to, I guess, figure out how to make that a success, he should have went to other companies that were successful and figured out how they became successful. Like, what did they do? What were their things? What did they do bad? What did they do good? That way he could have, like, to focus more on the culture he wanted and how to implement it. That way, at the beginning, may have still been rough, but it could have been a little less rough. The problems I saw, which may or may not have been an actual problem, but one that I could.
I definitely agree with that. I think, and he, like you said, he did it all on his own at the beginning with his idea and getting it started, and he did kind of research a little bit. But like all of the guys that were in here later with the different stores and that were helping him and that became the CFOs and the CEOs, he should have had them before even opening the first store. I feel like to have that team to develop it, I think that would have, like you said, I think that would have solved a lot of problems in their startup.
Well, wasn't their cook only like working part-time for him too?
Yeah, I think so.
And then it was after like the third or fourth store they opened, he got finally became full-time there.
Yeah.
Was that because of funding? I don't remember.
That is I think he was in other things.
I think, yeah.
The guy was like another business.
I do remember there was something here where, I don't know if they were hiring a new cook, had the funding for it, and they weren't sure if they wanted to do it. Or no, it was a G.
The general managers.
Yeah, one of the general managers, and they were.
There's two general managers, but they needed more because they were running thin or something like that.
Yeah, so they were trying to justify hiring a couple more general managers for each store or something like that, but they weren't quite sure. But they finally just did it, and doing that, increasing the workload on the current ones increased the profits a lot because they were able to focus better. Spread thin and stuff. I thought that was a pretty good move, but.
And let's talk about that for a little bit. Do you guys remember that situation?
I'm trying to remember where it was at, and I can't quite remember.
No, I think it was specifically at one store, and I don't remember which one. They only had 2 managers, and they're realizing there was a lot of miscommunication. The store was open for however many hours. These guys are working like 60-hour weeks and not spending time with their families. And so they decided they needed more managers, but they didn't have the money to hire 2 more. But they did it anyway, and then they were able to like have more specific roles for each manager. Yeah. And then they also were able to cut back to like 45 hours a week, which made them a lot happier, which meant that the employees that they were in charge of were a lot happier, which kind of trickles down to the customers. I don't know if I got that specific, but I really appreciated that. It kind of shows like why it's important to have that hierarchy and how it's important to keep everybody happy and not just focus on one area or the other.
Looks like they had about Noodles and Company store was about 2,500 square feet and about 30 employees working under a manager concept with 1 general manager, 2 assistant managers, 2 shift managers. It says, Seraphin says, when I came on board full-time in 98, sales had turned around at the 3 locations due to cost control, and the management structure was not where it needed to be. We had 2 full-time managers at a restaurant that was open 85 hours. Communication between them was poor. We didn't have full coverage because the manager was either in the kitchen or the dining area and other stuff. But anyway, that's where that was.
Perfect, thanks.
Yeah, sure. So, and okay, so here's something, we really needed 4, but we couldn't even afford 2, it says. So that was a big thing. So, but we made a huge bet in the future to go 4 managers and insist on coverage in front, both in front and back of the house. So they didn't. So he took a big risk by bringing more managers in, but it paid off as it allowed for a better customer experience and making sure that everything's going smoothly, which built the business in the long run.
When they weren't spread so thin, like those managers weren't spread so thin, and I think that's all like. I think it was. Yeah, on page 10 in that second paragraph, it says in the process of hiring additional managers, we also figured out that what made general managers happy. They were averaging 85-hour work weeks and not being able to see their kids grow up or have personal lives. And then so they figured, okay, so we decided that 45 hours a week was the right number for work hours. So I think that like helped like build that culture where they were more focused on, like letting people have these lives outside of work, more diverse and more, what's the word I'm looking for?
It's like warm, but I don't know if that's what you're looking for. Just like inviting.
Rested,
energized. Yeah. Like it just invested in the company. They weren't spread so thin, like, because I mean, I've had jobs where I've worked, 60 hours a week or 70 hours a week, and it sucks. It's hard to be like constantly aware of, like throughout the whole day. You might have a couple hours and you're kind of like a zombie for a couple hours, and then you have a couple hours again where you can't be fully invested for that full 12, 15 hours a day or whatever you're working. But
you go about 2 or 3 days before you get completely out and doing that. Yeah, I agree.
I think it kind of goes along with like you want to make sure you have the best people, but you also want to make sure you have the best of those people. You don't want them when they're dead on their feet.
Yeah. Like make sure you're investing in them as well, like in your employees.
Wow. Well, I think that develops that like state of mind in the employees. They're like, oh, these people actually want to help us out. When they come to work, they're more invested in the work because like the company's more invested.
Yeah,
in them, so
which will rub off on like their work that they have, how they treat customers, and how the customers feel. Does it say? I'm trying to remember like what specific culture.
One of the things at the end, it said like the quote, their like slogan.
Yeah.
Kind of what you're looking for. I don't have it pulled up.
Oh, every guest, every bowl, every time.
So that was their slogan. And then there's a little exhibit at the end. I don't know what exactly which one it's on, but it kind of goes over that philosophy and what the different principles they want their employees.
The values.
Yeah. I don't know if right there. General. 27.
27. It's our mission to always nourish and inspire individuals in the communities that we serve.
Hey guys.
Hey, Kaden.
How's it going?
So far, so good.
Sorry I was late.
No worries. We're kind of making a little segue into, you guys remember they opened a store in Wheat Ridge something, and then it turned out to not be a very good location.
Poorly. Yeah.
Just lost you guys. Oh, there you are.
Let's discuss that situation a little bit. What was good? What was bad? What would you change?
What page is that on? I can't remember the particulars off the top of my head.
Like 6 and 7.
I don't have it up, guys. I'm sorry.
Oh, I got it.
I think it's like the 5th and 6th. It starts on page 7.
North Boulder and Wheat Ridge. That's an interesting name. Okay.
Yeah, it's when they or North Boulder. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, it's North Boulder and Wheat Ridge. So it says Wheat Ridge. Okay, it talks about how much money this other stores were making. Like the one on State Street, Madison, was only bringing in $2,500 to $3,000 per day, and the Boulder store was making $4,000 to $5,000 per day. And it says Wheat Ridge, on the other hand, was set off the street in a plaza with a Walmart and was only doing about $1,500 per day. Within a year of signing the lease, there was a juice place, a GNC store, and a running shoe store that had left the plaza, and a smoking shop entered. Those just weren't the demographics we had sought, and the results suffered.
Yeah, that probably killed them when that smoke shop came.
Yeah.
And then, did you guys read that quote from Kennedy, where he says, "We weren't going to relocate. Instead, they decided to invest in the community."
The community by going to the schools and the offices.
I thought that was a really unique and
Yeah.
cool solution to that issue.
To me, I kind of felt like I really didn't like that situation. I like reading through it, especially when it talked about that the other companies were leaving that area. I was in my head, I was like, well, why didn't they just leave? I know they just got there, but well, first they should have done the research, because I'm sure there was something up that they should have known. But then also later, or looking back on it, that's kind of what built that culture of wanting to be invested in their community as well, wherever their stores were, and to make their mark.
Yeah.
So it turned out to be a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was pretty tough to be. I don't know. You just think of the type of consumer that they were trying to attract. Does it say like if it was a little bit higher
I think it was
income?
Like, yeah, it was like mid-range income, a little bit higher.
Two income.
Yeah.
Two income. You know, and so like, I don't know, I'm just thinking maybe Walmart. I mean, I shop at Walmart, but like, I just wonder if that's not the right, you know, the right place to be for them. Like that kind of store, because I'm guessing it was already there, right? The Walmart was already there.
Yeah.
It sounds like the Walmart.
I think it's just like,
You know, like
the one of those little shopping malls, like you got Walmart and then like
Right.
a bunch of businesses over here where it's.
yeah, and so I just think that's their fault. I mean, I don't think they were going for that type of consumer, even though most of people shop at Walmart. I don't think that's the right place for that company. It's like right next to Walmart, you know, like it's.
No, that makes sense.
Does that make sense? Or it's almost like,
No,
because a lot of like low income people shop at Walmart because it's the cheapest place.
Yeah.
They need to be next to a Target.
Yeah, they need to be. They have
Better
they're going to
sense,
have, because it's so similar to this other case that I had, and they focused on, you know, a little bit higher income individuals, and so in this case it would be two income families. You know, so it's like they need to be in a different area where they're targeting their specific niche of customer. And here by Walmart, I don't think they're doing that.
So did they go there because that was the only thing they could get, or did they go there because they chose?
So
Because where is it? 6 starts in 6, right?
Doesn't talk much about it in 6 though.
Well, I was just wondering because I know they were struggling at some points, like whether if they were first or not first in the market to get a good real estate or a good place. So maybe though they went here, this was the best spot they could find.
yeah,
For the price that they were
and I think
with.
that it looks like it was in a plaza that was going to be growing a lot, so they probably thought, oh, like this is a good opportunity because there's going to be a lot of growth here. Like we'll be right in the middle of it. But then like, you know, GNC and a juice place and a running shoe.
All the potential.
It was like, yeah. Anyway, I think that.
And I think part of it could have been like marketing too, because like it says right there, the Boulder store opened to rave reviews and big sales. But then I also remember in that Madison store, like when they first initially opened, there were some really bad reviews on them, just because their food was kind of subpar, their service wasn't that great, and like that could have been the case with Wheat Ridge. They just didn't have the resources to fully invest. They were invested in it, but weren't like 100% invested into it. So it wasn't able to like kind of have the Noodles and Company stamp like fully pressed on it. So it was just kind of like it suffered. And then once it kind of started to get invested in the community by that, you know, going to the schools and then, you know, going to different companies and kind of like marketing their brand. Like that's when they started seeing those results, and the store picked up to where, you know, the stamp of Noodles and Company was fully on it.
Yeah.
So going off of that comment, Nathan, the issue that we're dealing with is that they want to continue franchising and growing. How can they make sure that their new stores always have that stamp of Noodles and Co.?
Well, they had like a contract thing that they were writing up, kind of that the people had to agree to. You know, that probably helped some. Like they have to abide by certain standards or they'll lose their status or something, you know?
Yeah, keep that culture alive.
Yeah.
I think the more specific about the culture they are, the better off the franchises will be. Because wasn't it more of that was an option, right? To go to franchising instead of going public.
Like the last 2 pages are a franchise agreement.
Yeah, so that's like his debate of like, what's the best way to grow this company?
So whether do we go to a franchise or do we just go in public or? And I think like if they go franchising, I don't know. I feel like I feel like that might be their best route, because if like the more specific they are and like those agreements and just like any, you know, like vision, like the vision of the company, that the franchisees will be able to pick up on that, and they need to honor that agreement. So like that'll be them to maintain the culture
And making sure the right people are like,
and the right
you're
people.
franchising with the right people. Because I know that was kind of one of the, I don't remember where it says it, but like when they hired, they looked for those people that had the same. Part of my case study I wrote about that was,
Those aptitude tests?
you know, yeah, that's like finding the people that will actually like kind of have those same standards, or have the capability to follow the same standards. Like I think that would, you know, that's kind of important when you're franchising, to have those people to trust them, instead of just being like, okay, well, all right, you're cashing out your, you know, your names, instead of just like picking and choosing who you go with and making sure they are, you know, willing to follow your standards.
Yeah, I think it has a very heavy interview process.
Yeah.
Making sure that they're the right people for the franchise.
Yeah.
And that they'll follow the vision.
Have any of you guys seen The Founder?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that just a second ago.
I just have been thinking about it through this whole case study. Are there any Dallin, is it just you that's seen it? Anybody else seen it?
No.
I haven't.
Okay.
Seen it.
You haven't, Kaden? So it's about how McDonald's got started. And
Oh, gotcha.
it definitely made me hate McDonald's more, which is
Oh.
but it's about how this guy who is not a McDonald's brother found the McDonald's brothers and basically stole their company. And he uses franchising, but there's a lot of issues with it because the McDonald's brothers want everything to be exactly the same as their original store. But as they learn through franchising that everybody has their own opinions, and in the South they want to sell Kentucky Fried Chicken, and in New York they want to sell something else. I don't know, but everybody's selling different stuff. They're not sticking to the classics. And so reading through this case study, I was really thinking about how important it was that they were going to have that contract and that they were vetting out their franchisees pretty well, I think, with these aptitude tests and everything. And there is a way to do it right.
Yeah. To me, go ahead. I think to me, with this, what they're trying to do and the growth they want to have, I think that with franchising, it's possible, but with the culture they want to retain or maintain, it's going to be a slower growth process than like just a restaurant that's trying to just make profit. You know, because you've got to ensure that every new store that opens like becomes accustomed to the culture and allows it to like become a habit there, and it'll stay in that restaurant, and then they can open up more. You know, so like they have to slowly grow. But that was just kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, maybe you could like almost like these new franchisee opportunities, like take like that general manager and place them into another store for like 4 or 5 months, just to kind of say, okay, like this is how we need to do it, and this is how like the standards.
That's a good thing they could do. Yeah,
I was gonna say, well, I was thinking, I was like Chick-fil-A, like you go to like all the Chick-fil-A's I've ever been to, all been, you know, you get pretty much the same service, you get the same quality of food, and it's all over. You know, I feel like they've done a pretty good job of keeping that culture. And
I like that they can spread it out like that. What other solutions could you think of if they're going to go with franchising? What else should they be doing to make sure the culture stays intact?
Just lots of training, I think, would help them. You know, I was doing research on some of the different franchise options, and like most of them come with several weeks or a month or more of training for like the person who owns it as well as the employees and stuff.
So
yeah, I think that.
I was just going to go along with what you're saying, Hayden, is like just bringing the people who want to franchise into a company that's successful, kind of showing them the ropes, why they're successful, what they did right, what they did wrong, and then allowing them to take that culture that they see into their. So that's basically, I guess, what the gist is.
Yeah, giving them the expectations that the founders have. They clarify, you know, they clearly communicate the expectations that the founders have to each franchisee, so that they know, you know, what is okay and what is not okay. The more specific, the better. You know, and going along with what you know, Caden was saying about trainings, I think that's another big way of helping the culture to you know, to be maintained is having, you know, and you know, a quarterly or a semi-annually training or something for all of the people in the company, you know, especially the managers and those people, where they can all come together, you know, and go to stores where they have the culture already, you know, or and then just, you know, have trainings by the founders and things that they want to do and implement. I think there was this other case that I had read that was super similar, of mod pizzas. So they had it was called the School of Mod, you know, so it's like you go to this place and you just learn about the culture. You know, there's a lot of people, and I think it was this case? No, it was marketing class. Never mind. Anyway, I think a school or some kind of training like that on like what Caden was saying. Yeah, I think that I like that a lot.
So what about are they like pushing out robots? Is everybody supposed to be the same?
Well, I feel like every company they're going to be different no matter what, especially the areas that you're in. Like Utah is going to be way different than, you know, Georgia, but I feel like they can still have the same culture and the same standards, but you know, it's just like they can have their own little personal flair, I guess. I guess you could say it like that, but I don't feel like they're going to be like, I don't think that there would be robots as long as there's some room to like, you know, the culture and the.
Yes, I don't know how involved is the like the main group when they start franchising. Like, I guess how much control do they have would be the question.
Depends on the agreement.
Yeah.
We want to basically in their agreement they got to specify what they want as culture, but then need the rest of the
Yeah.
Well, that would be the best. If you go to school, you're not necessarily, or you shouldn't be going to school just to be able to do one thing your whole life. But you should be going to school just so you can learn how to learn and learn how to, I guess, act on your feet and stuff like that. Like, considering like college and stuff, where for the most part, a lot of the upper and advanced classes are no longer like a lecture type class. It's more about like, okay, here's a project. This is what you need to do.
Engaged.
Like for engineers, we have these capstone classes. We have to design a project, build it out to something that would be marketable to a company or something. And I know with business majors, they do the IBC at the end, or some different food stalls and different businesses like that. And so we're getting to the point where we're trying to learn how to implement the ideals and the values and the different things that we've learned in our situation. So I think as long as with these schools that they could do for their franchisees, they could implement a program where they would teach the values, teach the culture, and teach them how. Not necessarily teach them how to, but let them know that they are up to how they implement it, like how they bring their unique perspective to the culture, how they help it grow, how they apply it in their communities, and they're just, this is in the agreements, this is what's expected. Now it's up to you to apply it, and you can do it in the way that you see fit. Something like that.
I think that's a great point. Thanks.
No problem.
Any other thoughts before we move on?
Nope.
Cool. So what is everybody leaning toward? Franchising or staying private?
I think franchising.
Any thoughts to expand on that?
Well, I just think that like the guy's goal is to kind of grow and like kind of make his shareholders happy and stuff like that. And I feel like, he's going to get his brand out there more and just have more overall revenue if he just explodes and has all these stores all over the place,
Sure.
I think like franchising would be like the fastest growth and the cheapest growth for him, like for Kennedy to kind of meet his goals. But I feel like it's going to be the hardest as well, especially with making sure you're finding the right people, the right areas, the right stores, the right environments, and all that stuff. It's you're kind of giving up a little bit of your power when you go to franchising options, because you're kind of saying, here, this random guy I've never met or talked to, here's my little baby, take him, you raise it and see how it goes. I mean, I still think franchising is the best option, but I feel like he'd have a little bit more control over that culture and the standards of the company if he stays, privately and like doesn't franchise.
Yeah, I think if he goes public, that to me is more risky of losing his culture than it would be to do a franchise. Going public, you're going to be losing a lot of your control and ownership in a company, because you're going to have a lot of shareholders and investors that, they like your company and they also want to have profits and returns. So, you start losing control of the company by giving out ownership in exchange for money and capital. And so I think for me, it would be franchising, because it is kind of a cheaper way to go about expanding your business, and yet you still can retain the ownership that you want to have, you know, where you have a franchisee and you interview them really well and have a really deep interview process to make sure that they're the right person, you know. And I think going slowly with franchising is what he needs to do.
Yeah, that's true.
That's just my opinion.
So I guess in my thoughts, it all really depends on their end goal, what they want. Do they want to grow really fast, or do they want to grow? They want to grow, but they want to grow in a more secure pace. So not as a lot of risk involved.
Mm.
So depending on your option, I think if they want to grow really fast, then franchising will be the best solution, because just like you said, you know, it provides the cheapest way to be able to get their brand out everywhere, and also within the franchise agreement, they can try and set some guidelines or some a to-do list basically, so that their culture is maintained for the most part.
Yeah.
But okay, so I'm trying to gather my thoughts, but taking a step back now, if they wanted to. Okay, so the market that they're getting into, there's a lot of different people going into it as well. So the market is starting to shrink and stuff. So now they're not only faced with the question, okay, do we franchise, or how do we pay for this growth? But okay, when we're growing, do we want to be the first in that market, or do we want to be the best in that market? Because being able to do both at the same time is really, really hard. At least they're experiencing it as it being really, really hard. And so my thought kind of comes back to that, is like, okay, well, if they want to be the best in the market, then maybe franchising isn't the best method to go, because they want to make sure that each store is good and embodies the values and morals and the mission of the business. And so taking a step back and maybe readjusting their growth goals, kind of reevaluating the market, seeing if they can meet a less aggressive growth plan. That way they can save money from having to build multiple stores each year to keep up with their goals, and be able to put that into training the right people, keeping the culture, increasing the revenue stores that they have, as well as with the few stores that they keep on making each year, being able to really focus on them and growing, and whether or not they're the first in that market or a little bit later on, they're still able to focus on that each store as it comes out. So I guess in my mind, just trying to look at everything that's happening. If they can't keep up with their growth goals, then franchising, I think, would be not the best option for the culture, because like the whole reason to franchise is so that they can meet their growth and then they can meet the market. And if they can't do that, then there's no point to franchise.
Yeah.
And so I think it just goes back to that. Just they need to reevaluate the market and make sure that their growth plans are realistic. It will still make them stretch, because it's always good to stretch, but that they can actually make them. If the market is going to shrink on them, whether or not they like it or not, then they may suffer the losses from putting their store out there, but it's not there, or people don't go to it, not because it's not a good store, but because there's so many other options in that market or in that area.
Yeah, I think that I think they should reevaluate what their vision and goal is, because before they're like, this is a new market, we're like one of the very few that really are doing well, I feel like, and, let's hit like 300 stores by whatever year it was.
500 stores.
Yeah, but then like other competitors start coming in, Chipotle, things like that, where they have companies like McDonald's. I think, didn't Chipotle come from like McDonald's or something? Mm-hmm. So they have those kinds of companies like back them up, so it's hard to compete with that. So the big thing was like that real estate battle that they would have. I think that's one reason why they need to reevaluate, because like you were saying, do they get big? Do we want to be the first to market or the best in market? And I think for them, with the culture, it's got to be the best in market, not the first in market. So they got to scale down a little bit than what they were thinking, and then maybe just grow more organically instead of like.
Yeah, I think as long as they have like a rigorous process for like their franchising opportunities, like I think they can still maintain their growth and still keep their culture, but they have to be 100% sure that we're like 99.999% sure that these guys are the best people to franchise with.
Yeah.
Because, like what you said, down, like they've got these like McDonald's and like there's Wendy's, I think was another company that was backing up one of the other ones.
So.
Like there's some pretty heavy pocket people that, can, oh, Noodles and Company's offering $1,200 a month for this place. We'll offer 15. Like, they can buy them out pretty easily. But like, best to market is probably like the best option, and they need to be sure that they're bringing the best people in to make sure that they're the best in the market, and not just trying to.
And so I think this goes back. I think you made a really good point, but they have to figure out what they want and focus on that. I think that's the main point I made in my conclusion for this case study. Is that it doesn't really matter. I feel like at this point, what direction they go, whether they want to be the first to market and franchise and get everything there, or the best to market and just keep as a organic grown company. But they got to figure out which one they want to do, and they got to focus on that and figure out how they can excel at that point. Because right now, kind of like what you were saying at the beginning, that really broad approach when they came into the business, and then they slowly narrowed their approach down, clarified it, and now it's just another opportunity for them to do that once again and to and then whether they choose to be the best in the market or the first in the market is arbitrary at this point in time. It's just they got to focus on it 100% once they do it.
Yeah.
So, Caden, do you have anything else to add?
No, I don't think so. You guys covered most of it. So
yeah, no worries. Does anybody know this article was written in 2004? So a lot has happened since then. Does anybody know what ended up happening?
Nope. I'm guessing they went franchising.
They did indeed.
I googled it, and they didn't. I thought they did because I thought there was franchise opportunities. Yeah. So on Noodles and Company, part of the leader's job is to like research a little bit, and I did a very little bit. So on Noodles and Company, they have a spot where you can learn about their franchising opportunities. There's one spot that lists the criteria. I thought this would be interesting, especially after our discussion of what Noodles and Company requires so it says to be considered as a candidate. They need to be passionate about the Noodles and Company brand, which includes understanding and appreciating the food, the team, and the culture. Driven to provide an exceptional dining experience to our guests. I really like that one because it hits all the spots of getting the culture of Noodles & Co., how it started, and then all the way down to the customers, which I felt like that was Kennedy's main thing, was like be good with the company, have everybody be happy in order for the customers to be happy. Another one is embrace shared values. So be an insatiable learner who's entrepreneurial, enthusiastic, and driven to succeed. I think that's kind of a basic one. Willingness to become proficient in all aspects of running a Noodles and Company restaurant, which could mean that they have some kind of school to go to in order to be proficient. And then the rest are just kind of like generic, like this is how much in assets you should have in order to have these many stores, or here's what we need you to do kind of thing. But I think that kind of goes off of what we were talking about, that they need to understand the culture. If you want to be a franchisee, you need to be Noodles and Company. You can't just like come in and take over the place kind of thing. So I thought that was really cool.
that we were able to connect that. So good job, guys.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's pretty online with what they were talking about in the case, like what actually happened, like their expectations.
Yeah, it's cool that they were able to stick to that.
Mm.
Other facts, just so that we all know. I mean, I've never even had Noodles and Company, so I don't even.
Yeah.
Is there even a store close by?
I think there's one. Is there one in
No, I
Pocatello?
think there's one in Pocatello, and I'm pretty sure there's one in Idaho Falls.
Oh, no, I don't know.
I think
There's one
there's
in
a
Twin
few around
Falls.
Utah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, in 2016, in the Forbes magazine, it was in the top 100 most trustworthy companies in America.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Can we talk about that real quick? Like, what are some? We probably hit a couple of them, but why do you think that would be one of the most trustworthy? Still.
I think part of it was like they were invested in the employees.
Mhm.
So like I don't know, like when personally I feel like people are invested in me or they like actually like want me to succeed. I'm more driven to, show up to work on time, to do my best work and to do all that stuff. So I think that's like a huge reason why they're trustworthy is because they trust their employees, especially with them like allowing their employees to see like how their specific store is doing, like with sales wise and stuff. That allows them to be like, oh, I actually have like a personal like interest in making this company do well
Mhm.
because you don't like the competitive side of me. I don't want to be last. I don't want to be making just a little chunk of change. You want to be like you want to be number one. But I don't know. I think that's kind of a big one.
Yeah, definitely.
I
Their
think that's right on the money.
Mhm.
What were you gonna say though?
I was just reiterate what you said. Their focus on their employees and trying to make their quality of work the best it can be. The environment that they're in, a really good environment, allowed the employees to then turn around and also give that same, I guess, respect and attention to the customers that come into their stores. And so it just by the leaders doing what they could in their sphere of influence to help and better the lives of those that they were in contact with, that in turn, moved on, and the whole pay it forward kind of attitude, and the employees are happy, the customers will be happy. I mean, and you can kind of tell that too when you go into a restaurant that where people actually enjoy being there and working there. Like the service is so much better, the atmosphere is a lot better, and and I feel like even though I don't know, sometimes the food isn't always the best, but you're still willing to go there over anywhere else.
That's why I like Chick-fil-A. I like their service.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the food's great too, but I feel like, I always feel like I feel better going into the store because they're like, when you say thank you, it's not just, brush it off and go do whatever you're doing. It's like, oh, it's my pleasure.
I know they always. My pleasure. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, they're very polite.
I'm sure
Okay. Well, we've hit an hour. So good job. This is awesome. Is there anything else? Anybody feels?
I can't really. Thanks for sharing those insights of what the company is now.
I thought it was really interesting. I think like with all these case studies, I always want to know like, well, what actually happened? Where are they now? This was a good one.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you all for coming, and have good weeks.
You too.
Alrighty.
Bye.